Welcome to the Danny Clinkscale Reasonably Irreverent podcast. Insightful and witty commentary, probing interviews, and detours from the beaten path.
With a week's delay, we are back with an edition of Thirsty Thursday, Sense and Nonsense. Joe had the good fortune of being on a family vacation, which I don't know how much he wants to talk about it. We've talked about it off the air. The children had a good time. Anyway, we've got a lot of things to talk about. We are taping in the aftermath on Wednesday of Dortmund going down in the Champions League, so we may weigh in on that a little bit. My family and the ancestral family Clinkscale home has been sold, so maybe we'll talk a little real estate. My dad, one of the reasons it's been sold is my mom was living there alone. My dad is now in a home, and I didn't learn that many things from my dad, which might surprise you because he was a broadcaster, but I learned some things that I didn't want to be. And I also learned some old-timey phrases that are kind of funny that I still use a little bit to this day. And I told my wife, I was driving, and I told my wife one the other day because somebody cut us off in traffic, and it reminded me of a thing he used to say all the time. And we, of course, have the ever-popular fact check. We got all kinds of things that we usually talk about. And Joe and I are actually wearing similar shoes today. Maybe we'll get into that. I don't think we'll get into that. We're starting off with the delicious Boulevard Space Camper. I think my favorite Boulevard product, although they've rolled out a new line of baseball-oriented
More of Danny's
beers,
Reasonably Irreverent podcast
so
after this.
Try those. Support the hometown brewery. I'll be honest. Boulevard, their line of beers, is not among my super favorites. It's good. I'd say it's a good quality craft beer, but I don't think I'd be voting for it at the International Beer Festival generally. But anyway, on all those notes, the chuckling Joe will return, and he gets to speak first. Coming up next on Thirsty Thursdays, Sense and Nonsense, right here on the Reasonably Irreverent podcast.
Cinematic Visions has been an affordable solution for professional media production in Kansas City since 2003, offering award-winning video production and creation, as well as a wide array of digital and social media management services. From planning, scripting, filming, editing, and post-production, to delivering your product to a watching world, Cinematic Visions will provide professional and affordable services for you and your business with the necessary return on investment to make it all worthwhile. Cinematic Vision's goal is to unlock the power of storytelling through video and a strong online presence for your company. Beyond the numbers, they want to inspire and evoke your clients to feel and act. Let my friends at Cinematic Visions embed your brand where it belongs, in your customers' minds. You can find them online at cinematicvisions.com or with a quick phone call at 816-600-6300.
We're here once again with Dr. Brad Woodall from Advanced Sports and Family Chiropractic and Acupuncture. Springtime, good weather's finally here. People want to stay active, and it's your job to make sure that they can stay active, and be healthy.
Danny, we see a lot of not just weekend warriors, but people that every day are having that want to get back to activity. Whether you're starting with walking, jogging, or maybe that first 5K of the year, we want to help you out. We specialize in taking care of all ages, from kids all the way to grandmas and grandpas, but absolutely specialize in getting you back to full function and keeping you in great shape.
So in short, how do we go about doing that?
The first thing is to schedule a consultation with one of our doctors and therapists so we can see how you move and how you're supposed to move. Based on our assessment, we can put together a short treatment plan and a set of goals to help you both feel better, function better, and most importantly, stay better for this year and many years to come.
Learn more at asfca.com/Danny. That's asfca.com/Danny. I'm here with David Schmidt from Private Capital. And David, tell us more about your outstanding firm.
Thanks, Danny. Here at Private Capital, we focus on return on asset. In today's world, it is survival of the fittest. We look at things from all angles and try to figure out what works best for you. The changes we will see this next year on assets will be monumental. The key to success is knowledge. Know where you want to go, and we'll be here along the way. To find out more, give us a call at 816-221-7775.
David Schmidt from Private Capital with the best service for you. The bitter cold snap in February was just another intense reminder of how important it is to have a quality heating and cooling company on your side. That's why you need to know about my friends at Dillon's Heating and Cooling. Jeff Dillon and his top quality staff provide honest, affordable, and reliable service all year long. Their number one priority is taking care of the customer and focus on being genuine, always following through and standing behind what they say and do. If you need HVAC or AC repair, it's important you get help from a team of professionals. Dillon's Heating and Cooling's team can walk you through a range of products, the advantages of heating and cooling systems, and ultimately help you find the best HVAC system for you. They're always glad to answer your questions and set up an appointment for an installation consultation. Whether you're looking to upgrade to a newer model of your current system or need one installed in a new home, give my friends at Dillon's Heating and Cooling a call today at 913-214-0529. That's 913-214-0529, or visit dillonsheatingandcooling.com to answer all of your questions. Dillon's Heating and Cooling. Their slogan is their goal, always treating you like family.
If you'd like to join these and other great sponsors and market your business to a growing and engaged audience, contact us at danny@dannyclinkscale.com. Look forward to hearing from you.
All right, Danny.
We didn't wait to crack the cans. So go ahead, Joe. You start.
All right, Danny, we're back. I love Space Camper to start. This is quickly becoming the house beer around here.
The house beer.
The house beer around here, that's right. Prices come down a bit, and
one of the issues with Boulevard a little bit for me.
Yeah, and as I've told you, these are the last two good beers in this house. We're going domestic.
Yikes, we'll see what comes up.
I did not get a chance to go to the store, and I was on said vacation last week, so the beer supply dwindled around here. Yeah, had a house, somebody keeping the house while we were gone, a house
they
sitter.
went right through your beer, huh?
They did all right on it, That's part of the deal.
That's good. That reminds me of a story, which I may have told on this particular podcast, but it's a funny story anyway. As most people who know me know, I'm a responsible eater, and I have been pretty much ever since I've become an adult, because I had weight problems when I first became an adult, once I stopped growing, basically. So anyway, when I was a kid, I used to eat quite a bit. I mean, we weren't allowed in our family to eat between meals at all. That was not allowed in our house.
No snacking allowed.
No snacking
in the clean
allowed.
Scale house.
So when it came to mealtime or whatever, you really put on the feed bag.
Got to get after it. That's right.
But if you ever were in a situation where you were remote, you kind of wanted to take advantage of it, which included babysitting.
Oh.
So in our neighborhood, I did some babysitting.
Oh, you were the babysitter.
I was the babysitter, yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
Right. Generally, it was a very easy thing. Most of the places I babysat, the kids were super young. We lived in a neighborhood where the people were young adults, had very young children. Often they were in bed when I got there.
What are you getting for this babysit? You getting like a nickel?
I think back then I was getting 50 cents an hour.
Oh,
I believe. So
big money.
That rings a bell for me. Anyway, it was easy work. I mean, there was one guy who actually had a stash of Playboys. That was great. I don't even know how I just blundered upon them one time.
That's fantastic.
And that was fantastic. Yeah, that was fantastic. But anyway, the next door neighbors were one of the people who I babysat for. And lovely lady there. That was one of the treats of going over there. She was a very pretty young Jewish lady, and he was a wonderful people. And I still actually Facebook friend with the kids who were a little younger than me, and used to play poker with one of the sons eventually when he grew up. But anyway, when you went to these places, they pretty much said you could,
have at the pantry,
or the fridge.
Mm-hmm.
So one time they said, said that as usual. So I looked in the fridge a little while after they left, and there was the big brand of pie in Massachusetts is called Table Talk pie.
Okay, that's the Tippins.
That's the Tippins.
Got it.
So they had a Table Talk cherry pie, and it was the whole pie. It hadn't been opened, okay?
Uh-huh.
So I open the pie, and I start dining on the pie, and I continue to eat the pie. Sooner or later, I realize I've eaten about 60 2% of the pie.
And at that point, you got to just eat the whole thing, right?
There you go. I'm thinking to myself, if I put back that pie, they'll think that I'm an absolute glutton.
Yeah.
If I eat the whole pie and then I deposit I literally took it out in the woods is what I did.
They'll be like,
didn't we
have
have pie?
I thought we had a pie.
I thought we had a pie, but maybe we didn't. So, you absolutely understand this logic, don't you?
Absolutely.
Right.
I would think the exact same way.
So I don't know whether they did or did not eventually remember that they had pie, but I devoured the entire pie. So there
do you still like cherry pie?
A little bit. Like I said, my whole world has been built around not eating things like cherry pie.
How do you feel about the Warrant song Cherry Pie?
It's awful. Almost Spinal Tap.
As a young man, I enjoyed that music video. Just put it that way.
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
Right. So after we opened with a little culinary opening, now it's time for the fact check.
Now it's time for the fact check, Danny. Here we go. Facts is facts. Okay. We talked about growlers, and you talked about it being a good value for the beer. Do you know how many ounces are in a growler?
I'm going to guess there's maybe something like 72.
64, very close, yeah.
I thought it was, that was 64 is a half a gallon, isn't it?
Boy, you're looking at the wrong guy.
I think, there's a fact check. 64 is either...
I wish everybody could see how happy Danny gets. The look on his face when we run across, when he says, that's a fact check, and he sticks a finger up in the air.
That's a half a gallon. I'm like 98% certain right now.
Well, I'll check that.
32 ounces. So
I'll check that.
I'm pretty sure.
A
quart's 32 ounces. You've had a quart of beer before.
Das Boot. Okay. Where does tie-dye come from? We talked about tie-dye being a fashion, right?
Right.
Okay, so
you were wearing tie-dye shorts.
That's right, and I wore some of those on my vacation in Florida. It was fantastic. Okay, so tie-dye, the term, is generally attributed to the mid-'60s, right? But it first showed up in 1909 in some writings by some fashion guy in the United States, right? But tie-dye itself as a process dates back to the 5th century in China. They found garments that were done the way that you tie-dye things, like tying it in knots and dipping the dye.
Wow. How about that?
How about that, huh?
That's a sort of a color palette thought. My wife was watching Turner Classic Movies last night while I was doing the dishes. Film came on. It was called The Jazz Singer. I think that was it. No, not The Jazz Singer. That's a super
famous movie.
It was. It doesn't matter what it was. Anyway, it was in this sort of odd color palette, and it was an old movie.
Like a sepia or something?
No, it was just. It looked like when they did that horrible thing in colorized movies. Remember when they did that for a while? And they actually got rid of all those. That was Turner who did it, actually. Oh. And most real movie people hated it with a passion because those movies were made in black and white for a purpose. Yeah. Anyway, so this movie was from, it was with Paul Wiseman, who was a famous big band leader. And this is all beside the point. Anyway, it was in color, and the people had there was flesh tones, and but there weren't a variety of colors. It wasn't
everything's in 7 colors.
But so my wife said, "Are you familiar with this movie?" She says, "I think it's in color, but it looks colorized." And I'm like, "I'm going to look it up." It turns out that it was a version of Technicolor. Like there were 4 different versions of Technicolor that developed, and the first ones, even though almost all the movies were in black and white, there were a select few that were made in Technicolor, usually sort of musicals and stuff like that, and it dated back to like 1909. Most people really think that the first, real explosion of Technicolor movies was basically The Wizard of Oz and Gone with the Wind.
Wizard of Oz, right? That's what you think about.
And the big reveal in The Wizard of Oz where it changes from black and white to color. But that was just when they were really starting to master the Technicolor. Because I looked it up. I was reading. I didn't know this. I was reading. So they would make a few, and it got a little bit better. But I think it was probably very expensive. people didn't care that much.
Yeah, and it was maybe seen as like kind of like a fatty thing, like a 3D movie or something, maybe, right?
Maybe.
I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll look
anyway,
that up.
So there you go.
Okay. Hawk Harrelson's career,
Yes.
right? We talked about that? Okay. Boy, I should have made this bigger. I can hardly read it. Okay. He retired the day after he was traded to Cleveland, which you talked about, right?
Right.
But the reason he said he was going to retire is that if he moved from Boston, he'd lose like $500,000 in business ventures, right?
Right.
Well, then they kind of worked it out with Cleveland somehow. I think maybe with travel or something, and he could go back or something, or they got him some deals in Cleveland. And so then he came out of retirement a few days later, and he actually played a couple seasons there.
Right.
And had some pretty big, pretty successful seasons before he broke his leg, like 2 seasons in, and then he retired after that and went after his golf career.
Right.
But
and
dude
then
had like 30 home runs. Like he was a ball player.
he was the 1968 American League Player of the Year for Sporting News.
Yeah.
He wasn't the MVP, the officially named MVP. So, yes, he did have some good years. And then, of course, people very familiar with him as the television voice of the Chicago
That's
White
right.
Sox.
Speaking of Cleveland.
And he just recently, he passed away within the last year or two.
Really?
I believe.
Crap.
Another
Look
fact
that
check.
Speaking of Cleveland and their river lighting on fire.
Yes.
Okay, so first of all, I'm gonna ask you to guess, and I'll give you anywhere, but you win if you can get within 2. How many times did the Cuyahoga River light on fire in the 1960s?
Ooh, I let's just say 6.
13 times.
Wow.
The river lit on fire 13 times.
I think people maybe who are not familiar with this or a little younger probably didn't have a real handle on why we have all these environmental protections in place, because it was a shit show.
Yeah, so
the environment is concerned back in the day.
Well, the fire that is so famous is from June 22nd, 1969. Around 12 p.m., floating pieces of an oil slick were ignited on the river by sparks from a passing train. So, okay, just sparks. I mean, how toxic does the water have to be that just sparks from a passing train are lighting the flipping river on fire, right?
Yeah, and I think, obviously near in a place where there's a big shipyard or whatever, you're going to see this anyway. But I remember we used to go every so often, and a big tourist attraction was the Mayflower in Boston. You go see the Mayflower, and then you'd look down and be like, look at all the oil and crap on the water. I mean, like the Charles River, where they, now will boat and do all kinds of good. He'd walk by and go, I do not want to fall.
Don't put me in that water.
Don't let me fall in that water.
No, thank you. So you come out of there looking like the monster from the Green Lagoon or whatever.
Creature from the Black Lagoon.
There you go. Okay. The Green Lagoon. The fire, that famous fire, witnesses reported that the fire shot up as high as 5 stories off the river. It's not like a little fire.
No.
This is the river's on. I don't know why I'm so fascinated by this, but like the river is on serious fire, ladies and gentlemen.
And it turned, I think, when it would subside or whatever, the river would be red.
Yeah, that's from all the industrial pollution. So
yeah, that was sweet.
It's helped spawn the modern environmentalist movement. Bruce Lee came up again about his death, right?
Right.
And here's the funniest part. I said that he was
Wacky
shot.
death stories.
I thought he was shot by a stuntman's bullet, right?
Yes, you did, and I was very dubious about
And
that.
you said, I mean, maybe he died from an aneurysm or something, right?
Yeah.
Dude died from an aneurysm.
Yeah.
But you know who died from a stuntman's bullet?
I don't know.
His son.
Oh, wow. Wow. I didn't even know his son was a thing.
How about that? Yeah, his son was making The Crow, which is that famous 90s movie.
Right.
And there was a stunt bullet. It was supposed to be a stunt bullet, and it wasn't. Shot him and killed him.
I'm not saying it's good that happened. And it's not. But how many TV shows and movies, especially TV shows, would we not have that the plot line for the mystery was some backstage drama because somebody didn't shoot blanks.
So you're saying
episodic TV.
There
must be 150. There must have been 150. No, actually, if he hadn't perished under these circumstances, maybe we would have been saved. These idiotic shows on Murder She Wrote and whatever. Matlock.
Well, in any case, I thought that was pretty interesting because in a way, we were both right. Is the way I'm going to phrase that.
Huh? You know what? I guess I'll give you. There's some separation, 7 degrees of separation.
That's
there.
right. So we're talking about 10-4 last time, and I'm like, where does 10-4 come from? Right?
I think it's a code, isn't it? A code?
It's a police code for sure. I mean, I knew that, but where did that police code come from? Right?
Okay.
So there were 10 codes that.
By
they
the way,
came up
you
with.
said before we went on that because we talked a lot of sports last time that we had a little bit of a slender fact check.
This is the last check.
No, this is an outstanding fact check.
Oh, thank you, sir.
These are some good, fun facts, at least to me. I hope the audience thinks they're as good.
Well, who cares about them? This is for us, buddy. So 10-4 was created by the Illinois State Police in the late 30s, okay? And there were 10 codes. 10-1, 10-2, 10-3,
Okay.
10-4.
Wow.
And 10-4 was affirmative. How about that?
Wow.
Huh? Because, they just got radios. Like, we gotta.
Right.
They barely work. We got to come up with an easy way to communicate. We're coming up with 10-4.
I hate it because as we've detailed here, I listen to a lot of old-time radio in my car. I have some CDs of old-time radio detective stories, but they play it as a drop on Sports Radio 810, and it's very funny. It's a Jim Gaffigan thing. You ever see pictures of those people who are sitting around looking at the radio? I think they're just thinking, when are they going to invent television?
Yeah. I can't wait for them to invent the TV. I think it's wild that you were able to find an 8-track that you could put in your car that had a cord that came out of it to hook into your Discman so you can listen to CDs.
Lucky I have an old enough car that I can play CDs. Actually. But
so 10-4 is one of those old-timey phrases, and we were talking the other day on the phone, and I told you we were talking about something, the Chiefs or something, and I said they wouldn't touch that with a 10-foot pole. And that's sort of an old-timey phrase that I use, right? I picked up from my country roots.
You haven't fact-checked that either.
I didn't know.
I wonder what there's another one.
It's probably from the plague or some
barrage.
shit.
Well, why a 10-foot pole?
What
is the... I like derivations. Anyway, so I did tease the fact that...
Yeah, so you've got some for us?
Yeah, my dad used to use these. And this one's super common, but I still don't know what it kind of means. Dead as a doornail.
My dad used that all the time, too.
I mean, I guess what it means is that, you just pounded the poor doornail into a piece of wood or something, and I guess it's dead.
I guess. No, there has to be more. I love. I'm going to so enjoy looking these up.
This is not going to be a short fact check.
Not next time. It's a 2-segment.
All right. Now, here's one. I told you that we got cut off in traffic. My wife is going through some health issues these days, and she can't drive. And so I'm doing a lot of the driving. And I drive her car when we're going to various things. And so I'm always kind of extra aware when I drive. And she's a bad backseat driver. And she's especially sensitive now because she's, got some issues. Anyway, so somebody came close, was starting to cut us off, and she's always like on the ball. Watch out for that.
Oh, yeah.
So it made me think of this. If somebody did that when my dad was driving, he would go, "That man is driving like a man with a paper asshole."
What? What in the world does that mean?
That one I don't understand in any way, shape, or form. But it does.
What in the world could that possibly be?
I don't know.
I'm not gonna.
But maybe it has some connection.
He's driving like a man with a paper asshole.
Yeah. Okay. So there's another fact check. But perhaps there's some lineage or connection to this one, which I do understand. Okay. That ran through him like shit through a tin horn. Now,
no idea.
Now, a tin horn is like a bad cowboy, like a
bad cowboy.
a chicken, like a fraidy cat.
Oh.
Like Don Knotts or something back in the day.
That's a tin horn?
Yeah, that's a tin horn. So a tin horn is like a Rube cowboy or
That's tin like the metal, not tin like the number.
Yeah, no, tin horn. Tin horn.
Yeah, but tin like
Yeah.
metal, not tin like tin the number, right?
Like yes.
Like not steel like tin.
So
like
a tin horn would be somebody who isn't a bad man, okay? And so shit through a tin horn would be that this man basically kind of shits himself, I guess, is what they... that he's...
We're going to have to put a parental advisory sticker on this episode.
Well, it's just asshole and shit. I don't think
We're fine.
I don't think we have...
Not like last week with your first post when you forgot to edit out our small talk in between. Oh, my gosh. Are we not going to talk about that on the air?
I fixed it pretty fast.
You did, but a friend of mine listens right when it comes out, and he was like, I loved the way that you put the small talk during the break in the show. I'm like, that wasn't supposed to be on there.
I won't go into the when you go from the edit bay to just the main screen, when you flip back and forth, sometimes it transfers, it flips the files for some reason. So what you're placing into the multi-track session sometimes isn't really what you were intending to, because it had taken the one that was on top, which is what I thought, and put the other one in. Okay, so that's what happened, and you gave me a quick heads up, and then I had to like scramble home, and because I checked those things fastidiously.
Let's just say we're lucky that's the one that you posted.
And it was literally
very short,
only and there was no profanity on it or no.
Well, there was an F-bomb on it.
There was not really.
Not really.
Well, it was quiet.
It was quiet.
Right. Anyway, that's probably a good... this is a sad moment here, because first of all, it's the end of our first segment. Secondly, it's the end of my space camper, and I mean, now I'm going to get some kind of yard beer.
Well, I'm going to give you the options.
Okay, we will find out what we will find out coming up next as we move down in class from the space camper to something else. Find out what it is coming up next.
More of Danny's Reasonably Irreverent podcast after this.
Firsthand, I have enjoyed the benefits of the CBD products from Canaway. My back feels better and better these days, as a major part of my routine are the pain-relieving salve and the Pure Gold oil. And recently I had the pleasure of a treatment session using the Canaway CBD in conjunction with the Microlight 830 cold laser. The non-invasive treatment session worked wonders, and I could barely tell I was even being touched. TML 830 is the first 3B cold laser to get FDA approval, and in addition, the combination treatment with CBD is patent pending. The new smart laser is the only hands-free cold laser in the world and is used by athletic trainers, chiropractors, MDs, physical therapists, and veterinarians everywhere. You can learn more about all the great benefits from the complete line of Canaway CBD products by contacting my friend Sherry McCants at 515-208-6312. That's 515-208-6312 to get outstanding information about Canaway. Most of us have experienced auto accidents, and it's no fun. And even less fun is trying to work on the insurance aspects afterwards and getting full value after an auto accident. I'm here with David Cowan from RecExpert.com. And David, you have an unusual and important niche for people after an auto accident.
We have a passion to teach car wreck clients what they deserve. Getting your car repaired only fixes the damage and the paint. Getting paid for your car's loss in value is called diminished value. Chances are you've never heard of this before because most people aren't looking out for you. We help people collect thousands to tens of thousands of dollars for their car's loss in value after the wreck.
And if somebody wants to come to you for that, what's the original assessment cost them?
We offer a free review of any insurance claim to see how we can help.
You can't beat that. Great expertise and assistance in getting full value after an auto accident from David Cowan. Visit RecExpert.com and learn more.
Right now, it's more important than ever to support local businesses. And 23rd Street Brewery in Lawrence is open and ready to take care of you. Make 23rd Street Brewery part of your KU game day experience, whether you watch the game there or grab curbside pickup for your tailgates or watch parties.
But not just game days. 23rd Street Brewery is great any day of the week, and when the weather's nice, you can take advantage of their heaters on the patio. 23rd Street Brewery is open daily from 11:30 to 9 for dine-in, carry-out, curbside pickup, and can even help with your catering needs.
So support local and visit a Lawrence favorite, 23rd Street Brewery.
I'm here with Tim Emerson, the owner of Emerson & Company. And Tim, give us an idea of the range of services that you provide from Emerson & Company.
At Emerson & Company, we do credit card processing, payroll services. We do bookkeeping, merchant accounts like point-of-sale systems.
What would you say differentiates you from other companies in the field, and what makes you special?
I think what makes us unique is that we're a small local business making regional decisions on companies. We create a profile for the business and then put it out to our different vendors in a very competitive environment and tailor those needs to the specific business, which usually ends up in a great fit or great result for the company.
And, of course, the idea is to save money, right?
Save money, and actually sometimes I'm surprised where actually a solution that may cost a little bit more ultimately does save money, but we're not conditioned to think like that sometimes.
Emerson & Company. Check them out at emerson-co.com or call them at 816-360-9092. If you'd like to join these and other great sponsors and market your business to a growing and engaged audience, contact us at Danny@DannyKlinkscale.com. Look forward to hearing from you. Well, we had some good, there we go, there's a good toast. We had some good choices. You said we only went to mess. I thought it was gonna be a battle between, hams and something else like that.
Uh-huh.
We've discussed hams enough anyway. And just for aesthetics more than anything else, I have selected the Coors in the stubby bottle.
I've got the Corona Extra tall bottle, so mine's tall and skinny, and Danny's is short and fat.
Well, it's been a long time since I've done that. But anyway. And I didn't even know this. Did they always do this?
I don't know.
The stubby bottle has a little saying underneath the cap.
What's it say?
This one says, "An honest day's work might take days." That's pretty good.
Especially if you're drinking a bunch of them stubbies.
Yeah, that's a pretty good deal. So anyway, you said Lone Star has
Lone
puzzles.
Star's got little puzzles underneath there. What's that?
And those might take days to
that's
do
right.
if you were drinking the Lone Star.
What's that game show where they would show pictures, and then you'd have to figure out the saying that the pictures are trying to tell you?
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
It's like that on the bottom of a Lone Star cap.
Oh, well, that was, and I'm trying to think, well, there's yet another fact check.
Well, speaking of piecing puzzles together in my mind, you talked about how you went on some blind dates on a previous podcast.
Oh, yeah.
And I can't imagine Danny agreeing to a blind date. Like, well, to me, that seems out of character for you because you'd be like, well.
Well, in both, the standard issue imitation of me is so bad.
So
I don't ever go. The imitation of me is like full blown Jack Benny, and that's not me. But anyway,
that imitation is terrible.
Everybody who does it, from Jason Anderson, Curtis can't even do it right, and he's really good. Well, in multiple cases, in at least a couple cases, they were favors. They were double dates. And the other person had a real catch. And in order for that person to go on that date, I had to date the friend.
Is this because she needed to feel comfortable? There was another person there?
Yeah, I guess so. I don't know.
Because it sounds like it's not really a date to me if you got to bring your friend along.
Well, there's people double date. I don't know if they do it anymore, but they double dated.
No,
for instance, one of the double dates we went to a kegger out in the woods at KU. So I don't know if it's maybe just that. Maybe if just it's the process when you feel better when you pick them up. For the night or whatever. Anyway, this one
there's less expectation because when you're going home at the end of the night,
maybe that's it.
Yeah.
What, you're going to drop the girls off at the same place?
Yeah, and we're going to be together, so there's not going to be any funny business.
Well, that wasn't true in this case. I'll tell you the full details after the podcast is over. But anyway, this one guy, this one particular date, there's two, and this one's probably the more interesting. This guy had a chance to date a real catch. This girl I think either then or soon, was Miss Teenage Kansas.
Oh, my goodness.
And so he was going to, or Miss Kansas, I can't remember, maybe teenage, like she was 19 or something. So anyway, she was not going to go on the date unless her friend could double date with her. So I got her friend as the date. And her friend was a nice enough gal, little stout.
And you know how we all know how Danny feels about stouts. He's
and,
not a big
she
fan
looks
of
like
stouts.
she'd drank some stout in her day too.
It's so awful.
And she got piss drunk fast.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So it was kind of, she got sick. It wasn't a good scene. But anyway, I think he dated that girl for a little while. So I mean, it was just doing him a solid.
Mm-hmm.
And then another one was very similar to that.
Is that the kegger date?
No, that was the kegger date.
All right.
Yeah, so we went to the kegger. She swilling beer willy-nilly, and I had to take her out in the woods. And
so she could throw up?
I'll get into the sort of details.
Party at the Moon Tower.
Another time. But, yeah, so... And then the other one's a good story, too, but it's also... If you thought we were going to have to put a disclaimer on the profanity, we'd really have to put a disclaimer on this in each case, actually.
This seems. Oh, really?
Because I can't say that these double dates were a complete disaster in any way, shape, or form. So
you didn't end up in jail. You didn't.
No, I did not end up in jail. I did not end up dating either of the people long term. But
I'm always interested to know what car you're driving at different periods in your life, because it seems to be.
Oh, there were many periods in my life.
A good marker
at this point in time where I was driving no car.
Driving these 2 feet, buddy.
There was no car. Somebody else's car was.
I had some periods like that in my college life.
Well,
no doubt about it.
I was gifted a car when I went to college my second year. My first year, no car. Second year, first year I took the train and I had no car. And second year, my brother accompanied me to college. My brother was a year younger than me. We both went to KU.
Hold on, you took the train?
Yeah.
From Boston to Lawrence, Kansas.
Yeah.
How was that?
Well, the idea behind it was that it was going to be cheaper.
Okay.
And
but you got to eat, because it's like in 3 days or something?
That was the problem. You had to eat in the railroad car.
Uh-huh.
It was like a 2-day trip, maybe.
2 days? Okay.
Yeah, maybe like 30 hours, something like that. It wasn't great. I do have
Did you have a sleeper car? Or
No sleeper. And speaking of stout, on one of the legs of the trip, people get on, people get off, whatever.
Okay.
It wasn't like a bullet train all the way, but we didn't stop that often. Maybe every hour or something like that. But still, it wasn't great.
Mm-hmm.
But for a goodly portion, 5-6 hours maybe, and it was nighttime. It was night time.
Time to get some.
There was an older lady, and she was mighty stout too.
Oh yeah.
And I was on the window side, and she was on the inside, and she went to sleep.
And there's no getting out of your seat.
There was no getting out of my seat. But if you eat 6-7 meals in the railroad car, it killed the difference.
Well,
it ended up being a wash. For instance, when I went back home for Christmas, I flew.
Well, fortunately, the food on a train is so fantastic.
Well, it was a long time ago. I don't remember it.
No,
it
it's not.
Was good.
It's awful.
Well, I'm sure there's some trains it's good.
You think?
My wife and I have talked many times, and we've never done it, of going old school, old time, and take the train to Chicago or something.
Yeah, and I think it takes like 20 hours.
And see how it is. I think there's ones that are more express. I have taken the train in the Northeast before, after the World Series, when I went and visited my parents. There's a train that's virtually nonstop from New York City to Boston. It's called the Excella, I believe. And that was a very nice train.
Well, the train in Germany, which...
And then we took the train in England a lot.
Germany knows how to do trains, okay?
Right. Europe knows how to do trains.
Yeah, they had train stations. There was a train station in, I believe it's Berlin, that was 5 stories with trains on each story. You're standing on the bottom what do they call it on a train? It's the
loading dock.
Nah, there's a word for it for trains. Anyway, you're standing there waiting on your train, and if you look up, there's 4 trains above you.
Wow.
And there's glass you can see through. It's crazy, the engineering. And it's from the 50s, because everything was destroyed in the 40s.
Right. Well, I remember I loved going to, when I went and visited my daughter in England. When she was there, I think I went 3 times. And I loved it. And I loved going around on the train.
I did too. I loved that in Germany.
And the thing is that it's so good. Like, if it says that the train's going to be there at 12:17, you could literally buy your ticket at 12:15 and know you were going to be able to get on that train.
And that's what's so funny. We were in Germany, we had some relatives come from Germany, and I was talking to them about how the trains run on time in Germany. Germans know how to make, trains are going to run on time in Germany. And they're like, oh, it's not true. He's like,
you're wrong.
He's like, the train is often 1 or 2 minutes late. And I'm like, what are you talking about, man?
But if it is,
have you ever flown Delta?
If it is going to be 1 or 2 minutes late, it says it.
Oh, right there on a digital screen. And then they make it up. When we were on the train in Germany, I was like, oh, man, we're going to get there about 5 minutes early. And right about when I noticed that, you feel the train start to slow down because they're not going to get there early. They're going to get there exactly what time they're supposed to get there, right? Anyway, but the food on that train, which is really my extent of experience eating on a train, no bueno.
Really?
Not good.
Yeah, I think it's gotten a little less, like, you're not that many people take the train across the country, or it's more like short little bursts, and they have sandwiches.
If you're stuck here, I tried to order a cheeseburger and I got a cheese pizza, and my German's not great. And so
it's probably on you.
It was not great, I'll tell you that. But the train riding experience was great because you're going through all these towns. We're stopping through like Volksburg, and like that's the Volkswagen factory you can see right out the window, and it's just the German military built that town in the 30s to build Volkswagens, and like you can tell that a German military person built the town because it's just straight roads in a grid. You're going by on the train. It's just tick, 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 tick. Anyway, where would you and your wife go if you were going to go on a train?
Like I said, I don't think we would want to go cross country. So maybe we've talked about like going to Chicago, something like that.
What would you do in Chicago?
We used to go to Chicago. Shopper, we used to go to Chicago all the time.
Really?
Yeah, because my wife lived in Chicago for a long time. She knows Chicago well. It's convenient. It's an easy flight.
That's true.
And like I said, she loves Chicago itself. She has friends there. So we went, and also that was the first, I think, 5 times I saw Mark Knopfler. I've seen him 8 times now. I think that's right, 8 or 9. His tour did not go through Kansas City.
Knopfler brag right there.
His tour did not go through Kansas City, and I liked it.
Yeah, it's an excuse to travel.
It was an excuse to travel. Yeah. So I saw him at least 4 times in Chicago. So that was the excuse for the trip on 4 different occasions. We saw actually the 3 regular shows and then the tour he did with Emmylou Harris, that was a great show.
Have you ever seen, what's the smallest venue? I know he's your favorite. People get tired of hearing about it, I'm sure, but he's your favorite.
Sure they do, and they heard it again on the music podcast, which, by the way, every other Wednesday, and we did it yesterday. The music podcast with Tim Finn is just fantastic.
It is fantastic.
So it always.
I do listen to that one on the regular.
Yeah, it's
great.
really great.
Tim's great.
So
you're just so.
I think the smallest venue is probably the Chicago Theater.
And what's that? 10,000?
No. I've seen these are all Midland-sized theaters.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no,
really?
he's not he's still a stadium act in Europe. Generally, in the United States, he's a Midland theater.
It's interesting
level.
that he would even come to the States.
He usually sells out.
Oh, okay.
So you'll sell out the Beacon Theater, Chicago Theater. When we saw Emmylou Harris, that was an outdoor venue in the summertime. So that was probably usually 3, 4, 5,000.
Did you enjoy the Masters this year?
I always enjoy the Masters. I'm not as big a Masters enthusiast as most golf fans. I like it quite a bit.
Okay.
I mean, it's a major. It's one of the better golf tournaments you watch all year. But it's so reverential. I mean, come on. And there's a lot of fraud.
There's a lot of syrup involved in it, yes.
There's fake bird noise piped in.
Really?
Yeah, that's
on the course or on the broadcast?
On the broadcast.
Okay.
They do put food dye in the water to make it look better.
Really?
Yeah, you can't call them fans, you can call them patrons, and now they've dolloped on with another one. It's not the driving range. No, Joe.
Oh, what is it?
It's the tournament practice facility.
I thought they could have come up with something better than that at the Masters.
They built an entire practice facility, and they only use it that week.
Oh, my God.
The members don't even use it.
You know, Malcolm Gladwell has this thing where he hates... I'm a big Malcolm Gladwell fan. His books are fantastic. I don't always agree with him, but books are great. They make you think differently about things. He has a thing where he hates golf courses. He talks about how he hates golf, and he hates golf courses because it's such a waste. He talks about in Los Angeles how there's all these golf courses, and they've got fences around them. And on the outside, it's awful, and people are jogging, and it's just disgusting. And on the inside of these fences, it's beautiful and pristine, and why can't people jog in there, and how they don't have to pay the same property taxes because they're like grandfathered and all of this, right? So he talks about how big of a waste of land it is. I don't necessarily agree with that, but when you tell me they built a practice facility to be used one time, that is the epiphany of like just wastefulness.
Or the epitome.
Oh, shit. I sounded so smart till that happened.
That's another fact check. Epiphany's not a horrendous use of the word there. That word there. It's not.
No, it doesn't work. I'm wrong.
Yes, you're wrong. But epiphany's a good thing. I mean, it is a realization.
I'm literally turning red. I'm so embarrassed right now. Oh, jeez Louise.
Well, we're not always as smart as we think we're so smart. There's going to be moments where we fall short.
Luckily,
Joe.
It's just you and me. Nobody's going to know I did that.
And you can count on the fact, dear listener, because you're hearing it right now, that it's not going to be edited out. And on that note, two smart guys will say that we'll be back in a couple of weeks, and we will have more sense and nonsense, and that's always great fun for me. And salute, big guy.
Salute.
We hope you enjoyed the latest Danny Clinkscale Reasonably Irreverent podcast. Come back soon for something fresh and new. This podcast was made possible by our great sponsors like Dillon's Heating and Cooling, treating you like family with expert and affordable HVAC services.